Hi there, I'm Pretty Flower Vale, and I'm here with Belladane Nightfire, aka J.A. Edwards, author of the Draenor Dragon series of novels. Book number 3, Fire and Flame, just came out. Book number 3, Fire and Flame, The Red Dragon, just came out. It is available on Amazon and other places, which you can find on Bella's website, jaedwards.com. Bella, thank you for joining me. Please tell me a little bit about your character, Brianna, that you are, excuse me, Bella, thank you for joining me. Please tell me a little bit about your character, Queen Briannica, that you are dressed up as, and about the dragon thing behind us.
Yes, this is my character, as you can see. This is when I'm in Draenor form for Briannica. She is the main character of my story, or the series itself, and she does have the ability to shapeshift into a dragon, as you can see behind me. She is the red dragon, very specific on that color. She's um, thanks to her cousin, she is known as the Red Demon. Daxton has this ability to pick on her about calling her the Red Demon. I think he's a little upset because she seems to be a little stronger than he is and maybe a little more vicious. And, but,
And he is
but
her cousin, that's correct?
cousin, correct, correct.
And he has a brother named Fire.
No, he has a brother named Daxton.
Oh, oh,
Not
oh,
that, no, Daxton and Myken. Myken is his
Myken.
brother.
Right, right,
Myken,
Myken.
yes.
Okay. So he has a brother named Myken.
Yes. Um,
And
they're
and Myken and Daxon are cousins to Queen Briannica, and they are kind of the main family in this story. But in this universe that you've created an entire solar system full of cultures and people and dragons. So tell us a little bit about that.
okay. The system that I created, it's called the Novice system. It has 7 different planets. Each planet is very unique. My dragons have a home. Their home planet is on Malta. It's the southern region of Malta. They have always been there, and they also hold um, the 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 throne of the southern region as well. Malta is controlled by 5 queens. There is regional queens, the south, east, northwest, and also then the capital, which is Ashbury. That's held by the Empress Queen.
Wow.
And the south has always been held the by the Draenor. Now,
Okay.
there's also a lead planet, which is Marithia, where there is a little city on Marithia where our dragons also go to, because at one time the king of Marithia was married to the Draenei queen.
So they got to
Um,
go to both
and
places.
so they got to go to both places. He really liked the dragons so much he built this city for his wife, and hoping that the dragons would come over to Marithia, and some did. Some did go to Marithia, and of course Queen Briannica, she kind of likes that city, so she kind of lives there, and she has somebody else kind of run the city when she's not there. So when she's
That's
not on Malta, she has somebody else run that city.
It's just amazing to me that you were able to just create and dream up entire worlds, an entire solar system of people and stories and places. And I've read your series. I've read all 3 books. And it's very detailed about what this particular planet's race is like and what this particular planet's race is like and what are their concerns within the solar system and the politics. And I love fantasy novels, but I especially love fantasy novels and that have a lot of political intrigue in them. And I really love that you also set up the political system between the planets in the solar systems, and you talk about various councils and the dealings within the councils. And there's a lot of grabbings for power going on. I'm not going to give away too much. But for the benefit of anybody out there who might actually see this video, it's just so involved and there's so much story. And I am nothing if I am not a fan of a great story. I love it.
We do in the solar system. There is like one council. Each planet has a lead throne, and there is a king or queen on that throne. And then, of course, we have a council that oversees the royals. And yes, each planet is very unique, and they do bicker with each other
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. They're friends with each other sometimes. You just never you
Just like
never
real
know.
life.
Some just like real life. Yep, yep. But
So,
it makes for a lot of opportunity um, for the story to grow in different directions and things like that.
yeah, an endless number, it seems like. Now, let me ask you this because we're sitting here in Second Life in our avatars.
Yep.
And you obviously spent some time making your queen and your dragon, who normally are just one character. We're just showing both of the forms that she can shift into. So, how much of your story was influenced by your adventures in Second Life, or how much of your adventures in Second Life are influenced by your story? Maybe is the better question.
With Second Life, it gives you the opportunity um, to dream. You can dream up anything you want. You can do whatever you can think of in Second Life. So when when I have the story, when I first started thinking about the story, um, it was interesting to be able to bring characters to life. That way I can kind of see them, and you can it's like you can build the worlds, you can build characters, you can move them around, you could do this, and you can just let your imagination go when you're trying to put the stories together. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome because, we're always saying in Second Life you can do anything you want and be anything you want.
Right.
And I love the fact that I see this dragon who is such a great visual representation of what I read about in the books. I mean, you really did a good job of somehow finding a dragon that looks just like the one you described in the books with the coloring in the red, going all through it. So
Mhm.
amazing. Awesome.
I mean, I mean, when I was trying to decide before I even wrote the series, I was like thinking what would be, because I like fantasy worlds and I like dragons. Dragons are they've been my passion forever. If you ever see my house in real life, there's dragons everywhere.
Oh,
Um, I've always liked dragons. And when the idea of, instead of just being a dragon, to be able to shapeshift, where you have this form, like a humanoid form, where you can walk around in other parts and just be like, blend in. But when you need, or when you need that extra power, for protection or things like that, you can always come out with the with changing forms. So that having that change was, being able to shift like that was
how do the
base.
dragons communicate with each other? Do they speak the language as well as they do when they're in humanoid drainer form?
They speak through telepathy.
Okay.
They have this ability. The the language is the same. when they speak through humanoid, but then they use telepathy to talk back and forth, and they can do that when they're in Draenor form as well. Sometimes they forget when they're around other humanoids, like that the people don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, right.
Um,
They're sitting
so
there
they'll
having telepathy conversations, and the other people are just standing around.
right, and they don't know that they're talking to each other.
Okay.
Um,
So that must
it's
come in
kind of
handy in the political intrigue parts. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to let you elaborate. I'm going to make you all read it and find out.
it does help. It does help. Yes, where these characters can sit down and talk to each other, and nobody knows they're talking to each other. Yes, that does help. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that. Don't give too much away. But you work it in really, really well. So the dragons, you say it's the same language. Are they able to vocalize words that if the dragons are speaking to one of the other planetary cultures that are not shapeshifters, are they able to communicate with them? Or do they use telepathy with them as well? Or do you have to be able to use telepathy in order to receive thought messages?
You have to be if they're in dragon form. The humanoids from other planets, they can't talk with them unless they're Draenor. The Draenors can talk to the dragons because of the telepathy. So yeah, it is the telepathy that is the key to talk
Okay.
to um, somebody who's in their dragon form.
So otherwise, any visitors will pretty much have to have somebody in Draenor form as their translator if they are speaking to someone in dragon form, although your dragons can shift, so they would probably just shift into Draenor form.
Right, right. If they need to speak with somebody, they'll just, switch. If they don't have a translator there, they'll just change.
Okay. Very, very cool. And you are a self-published author, J.A. Edwards, and tell us a little bit about that. How did you find that path to publishing after you realized your dream of writing a story down?
Well, I've always written. Um, I've always been writing basically since I was like 12. That's the last time I can remember is when I
Aw.
started writing. I had going through school. I was in LD classes, which is learning. I had difficulties with English. As my editor, you should know this. um, but I had a lot of problems writing sentences
Wow.
and reading. I could read a story but not remember it. Um,
As
I
your
have a
editor, I'm
lot.
surprised to hear this. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I had a teacher because I had this imagination, and I had this teacher that once told me, just write down what you're thinking. And he says because you have this huge imagination, and he says he understood that I had all these problems with being with sentence structures and verb tenses and things like that, and of course I still have the problem with commas, and but I was encouraged by a teacher just to write down my thoughts, and I
Aw.
did that, and they just started flowing and coming out, and I've had people in school. Um, like a year ago, someone says, I always remembered you in school. You always had a notebook with you, and you were always writing.
Aw. That's awesome.
And
Hear that, people? Teachers, value them. They are amazing.
value them. They're
Yes.
amazing. And they are, I mean, even um, you get these students who are in classes like I was, and sometimes people don't. Um, they'll help them with what they need, but then they don't encourage any farther. So
Great.
definitely the ones that do encourage are awesome,
Oh,
awesome teachers.
definitely.
Yeah.
So
And
let me ask you this. I want to talk a little bit about the editing experience too. Oh, wait, first, let's get back to because I don't think we've finished about the publishing. How did you end up getting yourself published?
okay, basically what happened is I had a story. I actually have a series before this, the Secret Trilogy. It's a three book. first time out. It's the first time a short story, because I used to write short stories all the time, and one that just got completely out of control and ended up three trilogy. And I tried to submit those books to the publishing houses, and the problem there is you have to have an agent, or um, I was just getting um, too many
Red
people
tape.
saying no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and too many people were saying no, or they didn't want to look at it because I didn't have an agent, and
Right.
agents didn't want to look at my stuff because I've never been published, and so it's like, okay, where do I win? Where do I win?
Right.
And and so I went on the internet and I tried to look to see what's available, and they have these things. It's called print on demand. It's companies like iUniverse, which covers my first four books, Author House, which does my last two. Um, and actually, they're actually sister companies. They're owned by the same company, actually. Just found that out. And what they do is they help independent authors get out there, get their stories out there. They help with the publishing. Um, they eliminate a lot of the red tape. They don't have to print up a thousand copies. They will just print up copies when people order them.
Okay.
So,
So that's an
but
affordable way for the author to self-publish. You don't have to invest in printing 5,000 copies and then hope you sell them.
right, exactly,
That's great.
exactly. I have to
Now,
do a lot of the marketing, but that's okay. That's okay.
do they help you with the marketing at all? Point out any programs or guidance or?
They, they do have programs that will definitely, you can purchase packages and they can help you with the marketing as
Okay,
well if you
awesome.
want.
And if you're a self-marketer and you're great on social media, you don't even have to worry about that. You can do it yourself. It's just a
Exactly.
wonderful world what the internet has enabled artists and creatives to do out there and get their stuff out.
Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about editing since you brought that up.
Yes.
So you have this editor, her name is Pretty Flower Vale, and
Uh-huh.
I had the honor, I have to say it was, of being hired by you to edit your third book, Fire and Flame, the one that just came out. I would love
Yep.
to hear your thoughts on the before and after of the process and how scary it was thinking about using an editor and what made you decide to go ahead and bite besides me chasing you for a couple months.
Basically, the first two books, I did have someone who helped me with editing, and the books were great. It's just I couldn't. She was not able to help me with the third book, and I really, really, I mean, I love the third book. It's hard to explain, but ever since I wrote all three books at the same time, and the third book, I would tell everybody, wait for the third book. The third book is the best. It's, I mean, if you read all three, the other two books are great. They're wonderful. They got the background story, everything you need for that third book, but the third book is phenomenal. And
I agree. I have
so
to
I,
agree with you because I've read all three and they get progressively better. I liked book number two better than book number one. I liked book number three better than book number two. And it's not that they were better stories necessarily. It's just that the story's progressing and more is going on, and there's just so much
right.
happening. And I know all the background of the characters from reading the first book, so it just gets very exciting. And
Yeah, it's like the first book
yeah,
you learn about the characters in the first book. The
yeah, a lot
second
of
book
setup.
get a, you get a lot more background and everything, but the third book all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
Um, Gotta release that red dragon. Yeah, she.
very
So
exciting stuff. Yeah,
everything breaks loose on the third book,
a lot of action.
and I wanted the third book to be perfect. And when I lost my last editor, I'm like, going, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Cost wise was always an issue for me, and then my friend Pretty Flower Vale here tells me that hey, she's an editor. I'm like, what? It's like a gift from God. Like, here, have an editor.
Well, and it did take a little coaxing and
Yep,
I
yep.
knew I really wanted to do this book because I read the stories. I was a fan already, and I love editing, and I knew that you didn't have it for the third, and I was like, oh, I got to get this. I got to get this. And I was like,
It
Bella,
was.
so Bella, I know I must have been getting annoying for a little
That's
while.
okay.
Um, and then finally,
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
yeah,
Um,
finally I was
it
like, just give me your first two chapters. I'll do them for free. Because I knew that you would want the rest done too.
the like I said, I wanted the third one to be perfect, and it
Well, yeah,
is.
you needed a little proof of
That's what.
my skills too first. So that was another reason
Yes,
I did
yes,
that,
I
because
did.
I wanted you to know that if you're going to hire, you have to be able to do it with confidence, not just me telling you I'm an editor.
And I'm reading the first two chapters that you did, and I'm like, my mouth is just going, oh my God, you made. I mean, just with those first two chapters, I'm like calling my mom. Okay, we have to hire her. We,
Yay!
because, like I tell people, you took my great story and you made it better. And
Oh,
everything that I wanted in this third book is there now. And you were that last piece that was needed to do that. And the book is just phenomenal. It
it
is.
is. And I can't wait to read it. I'm actually going to start reading it today. And I bought it as soon as it came out, and I started reading it, but it was still too close to the end of the editing job, and I just wanted
You're
to
like, oh,
keep
wait a
doing.
minute, I forgot. I should have edited this. I should have
Yes,
edited
I should have
that.
done this. I should have done this. It just never ends. It's like being an artist, because artists will do a painting and they'll look at it and they'll be like, "Oh, just a dab more right here." You can do that
Uh-huh.
forever. You can do it forever. You can do 80 million takes and still have more to do. So you just have to know when to say stop. And I
Well,
have
I
to
did like
let some
when
time pass. And now some time has passed. I can't wait to read it again.
I did like when you would tell me, okay, go fix this, and but then when I get ahead of you, I'd be like, I could switch this, I could change this, I could change this, and pages are being added, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God, oh my God,
Yes.
I
And
gotta stop, I gotta stop. Um, you were awesome to work with. You how can I put it? I like somebody that I can communicate with, who I can work with. Like an example, we had a word. There's a word in the book, the word situation, and you sent me a text and said I never want to see that word again. And but I didn't know that I put that word so many times in the book, and so and it was funny the way you said it and the way you said the email. It's like, go ahead of me, get rid of that word. I never want to see it again.
Well, right.
So,
Let me give a little more information for any listeners. What it's I also explained why, and gave you
yes.
the opportunity to change it. And I like to do things like that because, if as an editor, if I start seeing something that's happening over and over and over again, I like to give the authors the opportunity to go ahead and do a round of editing themselves once they see these things, because that streamlines the process, makes it faster and quicker for me, and costs less for the author. And I want the authors to hire me again. So if I can help you save money, I will help you save money, because I know you have three more books in you. And
Yes, they're already written.
right. And I want to work on them, so I'll do that. But in the case of the situation, it was often some major characters. There was some kind of political thing going on, and some major. Oh gosh, sorry. I have to. Let me pause for a minute because somebody just sent me an. And we are back on. Okay, so the background is that the situation would be when main characters were discussing plans, strategies, political things, and they would be saying, "We have to deal with the situation at hand."
Yes.
And my comment was that we need to remind the readers of what's going on because there was so much happening in this book and a few different storylines. And
Hi.
so, hi. And so instead of saying the situation, my advice was say, we have to take care of the political turmoil happening in the city of Marithia with, so and so's challenge to the queen. And then that way it was reminding the reader of which situation they were talking about every time they said situation, because there were a lot of situations going on. And there's so much, and
Yes.
everything is
It's
so
like,
ingrained in your head because you're the author and you have all your stories down.
right, that I mean that does get that becomes a problem sometimes is because it's all there in the head. I know what's going on, what's going to happen,
Right.
things like that. And I forget that I have to remind people, or that I have to remind myself, um, that some people have not read the story before, so I have to
Right.
give
They
them a
might be
little
coming.
little tidbits so that
Yeah.
they can keep track with the story and know what's going on. They don't actually have to pick up the first two books, which definitely the best way to do it is to pick up the first two books
Yes.
first, but it's
Agreed.
not it's not required to
Right.
do that. So
Right. You can start with number 3 and get a full contained story.
right, correct.
But the first 2 books are really great to read because I do love all the character building in them, especially the introduction to the queen, because she wasn't the queen in the beginning, she was just a baker. And I won't go
Yes.
into anything else because I want people to read it, but it's one of those awesome things, and that kind of humble background's one of the things that makes her such a great queen.
Well, I mean, I will give just a little background, just a tiny bit. Um, the queen, when she found, at first she didn't know she was even royalty. When she found out she was, it kind of shocked her. And things happened. I'm not going to tell you what happened, but things happened and she ran away.
It was the
And
situation.
there was a situation. Yes, the situation happened. And so she ended up running away. And she was gone for, and it even says in the book that she was gone for 1,000 years. Because she doesn't age that well. I mean that she doesn't age. She doesn't age well. She ages very well, as you can see by my
Yes.
character. Um,
Yes,
but
you are about 1,000 years old as you look right now, right?
right,
Okay.
right, about 1,000, 1,100 years old. She's still considered very quite young. That is a problem throughout the entire series is her age. Um, Usually until she gets over the age of 2,000, they think her the Draenor or the dragons, they think of her as a child because her
A
dragon
juvenile.
itself is a juvenile,
Right.
and so they don't take her seriously sometimes. So she has to prove herself, and she has a group of people around her that she has proven herself to. So, and they have a lot of political background, so that helps her with the dragons, because of that, of
She's
the
got
people
good
that she has
advisors.
around her.
Right.
Yes, very her own little her own little group of advisors. Correct.
I'm looking at the dragon behind us and thinking, gosh, kind of hard not to take that seriously. That is one intimidating dragon. So intimidating that
Yes,
she earns the nickname the Red Demon.
the red demon. Her cousin gave it to her in one of the books. I guess he's just mad because she almost killed him once, and
Right.
he's
He's the big macho. Can't have a girl as badass as me.
That's right. That's right. Daxton is, I think, her biggest political ally within the Dragons. He's the strongest, and he is a very domineering character. But he also, even though with that dominating presence that he has, he will still follow her. So, okay.
Is it okay if I spill the beans on his dragon power?
Sure.
It's the,
Well,
well, I'll let you,
oh,
you go ahead and then you
no,
can
no,
spell
no,
as
go,
much
go
as,
ahead, go, no, no, you go ahead, go ahead. I'll let you
so
do it.
it's the dread, right? Is that right? The feeling of intense dread? Did I get the right
Yes,
one?
he does.
Okay.
He does have a way of taking um, the senses that people feel around them and changing it. And he likes and he enjoys changing it to dread or
Right.
death
Intense,
or
like fear, dread, just, which is a very powerful weapon to hold over your enemies in battle, you know,
and
because he's
it,
got that
he
psychological, ah,
right. And he can make. I mean, a lot of the dragons can change the senses around, but he takes it to another level where he not only affects the humanoids around him, he can affect the dragons. And
right. He's
so
very powerful.
very powerful, and he's got her back. I mean, he's there. Um,
And you've got a
when
Daxon in World, don't you, here in Second Life?
yes, I have a yes, there is a Daxton in Second Life as well, and there's a Mycan in Second Life. Some friends of mine decided to make these characters, and it was kind of creepy when it first came out, but
But now it's cool, isn't it?
but it's cool. It's cool now because then it gives me other ideas of like making Briannica. So
Right.
it was nice to kind of bring her to life a little. So
And I've been
I like that.
enjoying seeing them hanging out at Elven Forest and seeing little things appear on them as they go about improving their characters, like the tattoo for the Sentinels, the royal guard of Queen Briannica.
Well, the tattoo around his eye, that is for Slayers.
Oh,
Um
Slayers. Okay.
the Slayers, yes. This what the Slayers are is they're a group of people that when dragons become uncontrollable because they're
Well, they're
the
just like
the
any other race. There's good ones and
right.
there's bad ones. You're going to have outlaws.
Right, you're going to have outlaws, and the Draenor have progressed to um, to be more civilized with their characters. Even their dragons are a little more civilized, and sometimes they fall back on what the dragon's heart will go cold, basically, and they become the vicious, scary dragons that people know about or that they hear about and stuff like that. So this what the Slayers would do if a dragon has all of a sudden turned rogue. What they would do is they would go and try to control the dragon, stop them from destroying cities and eating people and stuff like that. And so that's what the Slayers do. And her cousins, Daxton and Myken, um, were in charge of the Slayers.
Right.
So, and they, even though
And they
they're
have
not
a reputation for being very vicious because in
very,
order to stop
yes,
rogue dragons, you pretty much have to be vicious because they're rogue dragons.
right, they're the best of the best, and they're the scariest and the
Right.
strongest, and
And often
um,
have reached a point where there's nothing to lose.
right. So depending on the dragon, if they find out they have Daxton, who's the scariest and the strongest, coming after them, a lot of times they'll like, okay, I'll back up,
Right.
I'll stop,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because not
The
only is
fear.
got that fear, he has a habit of not being very nice.
Is that a
He's
nice way of saying ripping them apart limb from limb?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He takes pleasure. He has what is called bloodlust. The dragon side of him
Yeah.
has what is called bloodlust, and he will take pleasure in destroying the dragon that they're coming after. So, it's not a good. It's
Wow.
not a good situation.
Well, all I can say is, wow, Queen
Yeah.
Briannica, thank you for joining us, also known as Belladane Nightfire, here in Second Life, and J.A. Edwards at jaedwards.com out there
Oh,
in
yeah.
real life, her author named J.A. Edwards.
Thank you for
So
having me.
thank
I
you
had
for
fun.
coming and telling us about your book and the story and the characters and all the excitement and doing this interview. Good luck. I hope the book sells a whole bunch. I think it should. It's really good. Anybody listens to this, I do encourage you to read it. Go to jaedwards.com or go to Amazon and search for J.A. Edwards, Fire and Flame, the Red Demon. I'm
Thank
Pretty
you.
Flower Vale, your host, and this is Bella Dane, Nightfire. Any last words, Bella?
There's more to come. There definitely is. This is not the end of the dragons. The next one is, oh my gosh, we won't even get into it. But I will say, you're going to meet some fairies in the next one. And they're not going
Yay!
to be nice ones either.
Oh no! Oh, mischievous fairies. Uh-oh.
Oh, yes.
All
Oh,
right.
yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we're all going to look forward to that, especially everybody in Elven Forest where the fairies hang out.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time, if ever I
Okay.
interview anybody again.